Eryk Anders, welcome into the game in Tuscaloosa. I hope you're doing well.
Hey, appreciate you guys having me, man. Doing awesome. How about yourself?
No doubt, man. We've done a lot of things this week as we reflect on Nick Saban's past 10 years, and the fans voted that 2009 was their favorite national championship. So wanted to get you on to talk about it and sort of what you're up to these days. I know you're still fighting, and let me ask you about that. Give us an update on where you stand there before we work into our national championship conversation.
Oh, yeah, I'm 7-0 as a professional mixed martial arts fighter. Looking to fight again June 23rd in Houston for the Legacy Fighting Championship belt.
Okay. So let me ask you, how do you use football skills to in the ring?
Well, football is based on, use a lot of fast twitch muscles, explosive movements. So I kind of let that translate over into the world of MMA as well.
Okay. Well, your speed was always something that, opposing quarterbacks feared. I'm sure you still take that into your skill set there as well.
Oh, yeah, I try to get it over with as fast as possible, just like going in after the quarterback. You got about 3 seconds to get to him before he gets the ball out of his hands, so as fast as you can get there, the better.
Gotcha. Well, let me go back and walk us through several different angles, and let's talk about, from Nick Saban. Let me ask you about current day when you look at Alabama football and looking at what you guys were able to build, that foundation. Pretty special what's happened here in Tuscaloosa when you're playing days, and up until this point, Nick Saban sort of killing the rest of the league when we talk about the SEC, but dominant performance here in Tuscaloosa by Nick Saban.
Yeah, well, the one thing that has remained consistent in Nick Saban's program is, he always talks about the process. And if the season is a marathon and not a sprint, if you kind of lose sight of your goal, then, the whole season can unravel. And it all starts in the spring. Spring game looked good, and, I think they're going to have a lot of momentum going into the season. I think they'll be playing with the chip on their shoulder this year.
Eryk, when you go back to the first time you met Nick Saban, can you walk us through that and maybe the impression of what you thought of the new head coach when you first met him?
Well, when I first met Coach Saban, I was walking through the Mount Moore Athletic Complex there, and I turned a corner and I bumped into a little frail-looking man. He kind of, his head ran into my chest. I was like, "Oh, excuse me," and I looked down, and it was, I'm not that tall. I'm only 6'1", but the thing that surprised me the most was his stature. I thought he'd be a little bit bigger, a little bit taller, but certainly when we're out there on the game field or the practice field, you would think he was 6'5".
Well, let me walk us through that transition period. When you look at Nick Saban and Coach Shula and that transition, how hard was it? Because there's two different styles of coaching there. How hard was it for you?
It really wasn't too different. Coach Saban, too difficult rather. Coach Saban really had took the NFL approach to it. We're going to go out there, we're going to hit 2 days a week. We're, be out there in full pads, and get a lot of mental reps. There was a lot more mental reps and mental preparation going into games than there was with Shula. Shula, we was out there killing each other full speed, tackle to the ground, Oklahoma drills in practice and whatnot. So by the time game time came around, everybody was too beat up to play. And I think I reflected, especially later in the season. The first year I got there with Shula, we went 10-3. In the last three, we lost the last few games of the season because everybody had been beat up, during the week, and then it's a long season, so guys were able to stay healthy longer and perform longer and more efficiently under Saban, I believe.
How quick did you buy into Nick Saban's process?
Me personally, pretty quick, just because that's the head man. I was a redshirt sophomore when he came in, so I got 3 years left with the guys. So it's going to be his way or the highway. And, I mean, he really didn't have a choice. And, once you kind of stop and listen to what he's got to say and, and his track record, it's an easy decision to make.
Well, going back to maybe that mentality change a little bit as far as maybe when did you realize that you were creating something special? I know 2008 was a successful season for you guys. 2009, obviously, you won the national title. But let me ask you, when did you realize that, hey, this guy is doing something different here and unique, and that we might be able to go on a run?
Pretty much from day one. He came in there and said that he doesn't know anything about anybody, except obviously the guys that he recruited when he was at LSU. But he didn't know anything about anybody. And everybody starts over on a clean slate. There were no starters. And the best players, the best 11 to play together are the ones who were going to play. So as soon as he said that, I was like, okay, all right. Everybody's got a clean slate. We're all starting over from scratch. So, I think that was pretty cool that he did that. And, well, he says he did that. I'm sure he had an idea of, who the better players were and the older players and the more experienced players. But he let everybody start from a clean slate and get everybody an equal opportunity to play under him. And it wasn't like you're a senior, so you're going to play, or you're a freshman, so you're not going to play. If you could contribute, he lets you contribute. And I feel like that helped the morale, especially of the younger guys, and kept the older guys hungry because they knew at any point that their spot to get, their playing time to get drastically reduced.
Eryk, how much did the Florida game motivate you guys in 2008 to go on the run in 2009?
I think that was the catalyst, We had a solid season up until that game, and that game itself came down to I believe it was a face mask penalty that wasn't even a face mask, or a late hit that wasn't a late hit. They gave Florida, first and goal from like the 8 or something like that, and they were able to pull out that victory. I think it just left a sour taste in everybody's mouth, and everybody wanted redemption. And we kind of got together as a team and vowed that would never happen again, and that everybody was going to do their part to make sure that we were never put in that position to lose the game off a penalty like that.
Eryk Anders right now, who made a killer play in that national championship game. Many of us have it hanging in our living room, different moments. 3 minutes and 7 seconds to go. Alabama's up 24-21. It's a 1st and 10 play. How in the world did you come unblocked to the quarterback?
Well, that's another one of those Nick Saban, Kirby Smart schemes. We were showing blitzing. We showed the blitz. We called one play initially, and then we have an audible built into every defensive play that we call. This one, the audible called for if they lined up in an empty backfield with 5 wide receivers, we would show blitz from the boundary. But then when the ball was snapped, the guys who were showing the blitz would bail out into coverage, and I would come off the edge from the field. So, when Garrett Gilbert was back there giving his pre-snap reads, he probably read the blitz coming and slid the protection to the boundary, which left me unblocked, unscathed down to the go hit him in that blind side.
Yeah, it was a big time hit, no doubt, and it really sealed the victory for the championship. Eryk Anders helping us out as we move forward. Let me ask you, when you look back at that game, other than that one play, what is something else that sticks out about playing Texas there in Pasadena?
We pretty much dominated the whole game. The reason why the game was close is because our whole game plan was for Colt McCoy, who was more, who the only way that he could beat us was running the ball, being a dual threat quarterback. So when he got hurt, we didn't know anything about Garrett Gilbert. So we really weren't blitzing him that much because, we kind of figured that he'd be the same, same style as Colt McCoy. And so we weren't blitzing him at all. And, he was more than happy to just sit back in the pocket. And, him and Shipley got on the rhythm. Jordan Shipley got in rhythm. And but other than that, we pretty much shut them down on offense. Offense was playing well. We had Mark Ingram and Trent Richardson had 2 big runs, like 60 yards a pop. Everybody was just playing well. I think we just totally dominated that game. And, there really wasn't any coming back to Texas.
Eryk, 2 weeks away from another number 1 signing class. There's 16 early enrollees that have already enrolled, but there's going to be another, 10, 11, 12 players that will arrive coming up in a couple of weeks. If you could sit down and tell the incoming freshmen what's it like, expectations of playing Nick Saban, maybe something that you learned throughout your years, and maybe it took you a couple of years to learn it, what would you tell an incoming freshman about playing under Nick Saban?
Just trust in the process. The guy has a proven track record. He's won multiple national championships at multiple schools. He knows what he's doing, so as long as you go out there and compete, you're going to be all right. And you stand a pretty good chance to at least getting a shot at the next level. So, don't do anything to embarrass the program or, don't go out there and fail a bunch of drug tests or, get caught stealing laptops or anything. Just behave, trust the process, go to class, and, the process will yield the result.
Eryk, I'm curious when you look at the SEC, because I've said this a couple of times, and it's just my opinion. I don't know if it's 100% correct, but when I look at the league, I look at 2009, I look at 2012 national championship. I think the SEC is dropped down a little bit. I still see it as one of the top conferences, but it's not the quality that was 5 years ago or 2009 when you guys ran through the league. You look at Nick Saban, he's on an island right now as the best coach in the college football, but in the SEC, he's up here, and there's a big gap between 1 and 2. From a former player perspective, do you see that as well?
A little bit, and I think that's mostly because of recruiting. Like right now, Nick Saban's getting who he wants, when he wants them. Back then in 2009, a lot of those starters on defense were Shula recruits. So a lot of the other SEC schools, the more dominant athletically and bigger players, the bigger, stronger players were spread out amongst the SEC. But now with Saban taking over the recruiting, they're all coming to Bama. So I don't think it's just a drop-off from the SEC per se, but around the nation. And luckily for the rest of the teams in the nation, he only gets 25 a year. But a lot of those kids come from the Southeast, so, that's why Ohio State's been able to be as dominant as they are, because, it's pretty much the same thing. All the kids in that region are going to the Ohio State. All the kids in the SEC, all the 5-stars and 4-stars, they're all coming to Alabama. So it kind of leaves the rest of the SEC and the rest of the conference in a bind. Because you're not going to out coach Nick Saban. It doesn't happen too often. So when you put the coaching with the players, man, the results speak for itself.
Hey, Eryk, as you travel around the country, this will be the final question. I greatly appreciate you coming on and talking Alabama football and helping us pay respect to that 2009 national championship team. But as you go around the country with what you're doing there in MMA, I'm just curious, do you feel the Alabama fatigue like we do here in Tuscaloosa? Because they're tired of Alabama winning. They're tired of Nick Saban getting all the recruits and, seeing them dominate the SEC. And I know they lost to Clemson in this championship, but they'll be right back in this thing. They're the number 1 team, according to most, going into the season. Do you feel that Alabama fatigue out there as you travel around the country?
Not at all. I'll never get tired of winning. That's,
not from you. Not from you, from the fans, from the fans from other schools. Because it seems like we've got the New York Yankees syndrome a little bit with all the way the Yankees win.
Yeah, they're just spoiled, That's kind of what has to byproduct of winning all the time. If you lose the game, it's a bad season.
Sure.
But the other team, they're on scholarship too. Those guys they're well coached as well. So unfortunately, you can't win them all, but it's a good situation to be in. I'd rather be surprised when you lose than surprised when you win, and be from a program with as much winning tradition is Alabama.